I look up from the ground to see your sad and teary eyes. You look away from me, and I see there's something. I know you so well, so well. I'm letting you I know you somewhere, somewhere. I'm trapped in my mind, girl, just holding on. I don't wanna pretend this.
This is a movie that Disney tried to hide from you.
It's called The Black Cauldron, and it came out in 1985. And it was actually Disney's first ever PG rating. And 12 minutes of the film actually had to be cut from the movie before it even came out because it was just not appropriate for kids. It's about a young boy and a bunch of his misfit friends who embark on a quest to find a dark magic item of ultimate power before a diabolical tyrant can. This villain is called the Horned King, and he's one of the scariest Disney characters ever. Disney got a lot of backlash from this movie when it first came out. It was actually one of the greatest box office duds of 1985. Disney literally had to pull this film from theaters and place it in a deep, deep vault. In 1998, it was finally released on VHS. And I know when I was a kid, I used to watch it all the time, and it definitely did give me nightmares. Now it's available to watch on like Disney Plus, and it's very easy to find. After this movie came out, Disney wanted to restore their brand with friendly movies. So the movies that came out after Black Cauldron were super happy and uplifting. Disney kind of wanted us to forget.
This story time is how my house caught on fire the night before Christmas. By the way, I was 9 at the time. So, like always, everyone wrapped their gifts and put it underneath the Christmas tree. And I can remember that year, my parents really went all out for Christmas. They decorated all around the house and inside. My mom went as far as putting lights all over the railings. There were many gifts under the tree, and I seen that most were for me, and I was really excited. By the way, I'm the only child, but my cousins were going to come over also. So there were gifts for them too. After everything was decorated, my mom cooked the night before and everyone went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I get shaken by my dad telling me that we need to get out of the house. I was so confused until I walked outside of my room and the whole second floor was smoking. When we ran downstairs, my living room and kitchen was on fire, and it was so traumatizing to see. And I'll explain why my house caught on fire in part 2. So come back for part 2. This is part 2 of how my house caught on fire the night before Christmas. So, like I said before, I was woken up in the middle of the night by my dad telling me that we needed to get out of the house. And the first floor was in flames, but we managed to make it out. When we left, we immediately went to my grandma's house. I asked my parents, why did our house catch on fire? And my grandma sent me away to go play in her indoor porch. I was upset because all the presents were gone, and I was pretty sure my bedroom was destroyed. When I was sitting in the porch, I overheard the adults' conversation. And remember how I told you guys my parents went all out with decorations? Well, something happened to one of the Christmas lights cables, and it caught on fire and it spread all throughout the house. I was upset, of course, but good thing my dad was up. If not, we probably all would have been burnt in our sleep. Anyways, happy holidays.
This is why you should never live next to crazy people. In 2015, a girl who was totally fed up with her noisy neighbors finally worked up the courage to go over there and tell them to be quiet. She knocks on the door and out walks this insane looking old woman who just starts hissing at her. And she doesn't stop hissing at her until the girl finally just leaves. She considers calling the police, but ultimately just goes back to her room and goes to bed. But she wakes up a couple hours later when she hears that same hissing sound. Her first thought is there's no way this can be my neighbor because she had her door locked. But then she notices there's a big lump right next to her in her bed and she reaches over to check who it is. Her crazy neighbor leaps out of bed and runs into the closet.
This is why waking up late might just save your life. One day when I was in elementary school, my mom and I both overslept, which meant I wouldn't be ready in time to get on the bus. School started at 8, my bus pickup time was at 7, and it was already 6:40 or something. I was still in my PJs and hadn't even had breakfast yet. My mom decided that today we would just tell the bus driver to go on ahead and she would take me to school, which would give me plenty of time to get ready. It's 6:50, I'm in my PJs, eating breakfast, and that's when we hear the bus pull up 10 minutes earlier than scheduled. My mom peeks her head out of the door into the foggy morning and waves the bus on. She closed the door and came back inside, but the bus didn't pull away. There's a knock at the door, and my mom opens it to find a man in a bus driver uniform. He explains he's a substitute bus driver because the regular driver called in sick, and that he's early because he wanted to get an early start on the route. My mom says she's taking me to school because we woke up late. He gets visibly upset and says he can wait a few minutes since he's already ahead of schedule. My mom says that we won't be ready in a few minutes and tells him to go on ahead. He seemed really angry about this, but turned around, got back on the bus, and left. But at 7 a.m., another bus pulls up to my house. My mom went out to talk to them and came back looking terrified.
I was like 5 years old, I almost got kidnapped. Story time. So back in the day, it used to be safe for kids to play out on the street, or so I thought. You know, when you're a little kid, you really don't listen to your parents. Well, anyways, what happened was that my mom was cooking, and I was like, Mommy, please, 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 let me play outside with my new scooter. My mom was always very protective, so she would not let us out of her sight. She's like, I'm gonna go outside for 2 minutes with you, and then we're gonna come right back inside. I was like, yay! So I'm just over here playing outside. And my mom was like, se me queman las tortillas, se me queman las tortillas. For those who don't know, that means she was burning tortillas. She's like, sit on the steps here in the driveway. You know me being a dumb little child. I was like, let me see how fast I can go. Whee! Here I go with my scooter. I'm still in the driveway. This man and this woman are walking across the street. Then that creepy man was like, hey, come here. That woman was like, I just want to see your scooter. I dropped that scooter and I said, skirt. They started running after me up my driveway.
This is why you should always look under the toilet seat before you sit down. In 2003, over a 5-day period in London, 3 women showed up to hospitals with the same mysterious symptoms. They say they woke up with these horrible bite marks on the backs of their legs, and then while they're at the hospital, they become paralyzed and die. Despite their similar symptoms, the women had nothing in common except that they had recently been to the same pub. Authorities immediately shut it down and do a thorough search inside of the pub, but can't find anything deadly, until one of the detectives goes to use the pub's bathroom. As he's about to sit down, he thinks he sees something moving in the toilet, so he gives it a little kick. Hiding in the toilet was one of the world's largest and most poisonous spiders, the Brazilian wandering spider, and now they needed to catch it.
I was recently reminded of the fact that I accidentally rigged my junior year homecoming king vote. American schools, we have dances and then we vote for someone in that grade to become the king and queen of the dance, and I don't know why. So I'm in English, and they just give us slips of paper that says, like, write down who you want in your grade of king and queen. So I'm sitting there, like, not caring about this at all, and so I say out loud, who would hate this the most? So I look to my left, and there's it's Josh! And Josh hates everything and everyone, and so I say out loud, Josh would hate this! And he makes the fatal mistake of saying, you better not. And then everyone's like, that's a great idea, and they put Josh's name down. So a week later, they do morning announcements in the English class